Hi, I'm Ernie Zor, and I'll be guiding you through this Peer-to-Spring software demonstration video of BillBase 5. That's the billing module of the Law Office Management Pack. If you're watching this video, I'm going to have to assume that you've already watched ClientBase and BookBase, those videos on YouTube, because there are parts of this video that refer to those videos, so naturally it helps if you've seen them before watching this one. As we prepared this video, we came to think that a final short video that ties all three together would be helpful, and we expect to do that soon. But the purpose of this BillBase video is to prepare a bill, or hundreds of bills if that's what your monthly billing amounts to. In generating a bill, BillBase takes the following steps. First, it asks ClientBase for the name and address of the person or entity being billed. It uses that information to print the top of the bill, which I'll show you a sample of later. And if you wanted to take a little closer look, there's a PDF example of a bill at our website. It's on the product information page for Law Office Management. The second thing that BillBase does is it queries BookBase for any income or expenses related to this client and incorporates those entries in the bill. Third, it includes any itemized time statements that you attach to the bill. And fourth, it handles any direct charges like flat fees. Therefore, BillBase can handle bills where you're charging a client on an hourly basis, or a flat fee, or a combination of both. And finally, it creates a word processing file, and it sends your word processor to your word processor for previewing and printing. Now, before we look at a sample bill, let's review some components of the main window. Like ClientBase and BookBase, BillBase also has a main window, and that's what you're looking at now. For purposes of this video, I've opened another one of the sample billing files that correlates with the sample files that were used in ClientBase and BookBase in those videos. This sample billing file, you can see it has only 3 entries, but it can handle, well, I don't know. I've never hit an upper limit. I'm sure it can handle hundreds, so I don't know that there is an upper limit actually. Now, before I go over the billing entry form, I'm sure you'll notice the similarity to ClientBase and BookBase. You have the add and the delete buttons, and they work just like they did in ClientBase and BookBase. You also have the same navigational buttons that you'll see in the entry form. These buttons take you to the first item in the database, or the last item, or you can move backwards and forwards through the database one item at a time. Now, when you're not in the main window, you'll probably be working in the billing entry form, and I'm going to bring it up right now so you can see it. Now, I did that by double-clicking the entry like I did in ClientBase and BookBase, and you'll remember that in ClientBase I explained that there were 2 essential fields, the client number and the last name fields. And in BookBase, I said there were also 2 essential fields, the date field and the amount field. Well, in BillBase, there are 3 essential fields: the client number, the last billing date, and the balance forward. Those 3 fields. Let's look at each one of the fields, even the ones that aren't what we call essential. Client name and number. Like BookBase, there's no need to memorize client numbers, because when you pull down the list, all your ClientBase clients are listed, and the list is filtered as you type. I can show you. I'll pull this down, and let's just begin typing. Oh gosh, I got to pick a name that hopefully is in there. Smith, let's try Smith. You see how it's coming up. As soon as I typed SMI, I got there's the Smiths right in a row. At any rate, that's how that dynamic filter works. So you rarely need to type more than a few letters of the last name, and this is an essential field. And you can't prepare a bill without completing this field. Without this field, BillBase won't know who to bill. And I'm going to go erase that, and I want to put it back the way it was. I'm just going to type A, D, K, and there it is. It already found the name. And I don't know, how many names does it say that there were? I think there were 500 or so names in ClientBase. So even with the 8,000 that we have in our real Puritas database, it still comes back. The searches and finds are lightning fast. And next field is the full name. This field completes itself automatically when you select the client number. You can change it, but usually it's correct, and there's It's only there for reference so you can see which bill you're working on. This is not a field that's printed when you actually print a bill. Next is the last billing date. This is the second of the 3 essential fields that I mentioned. It tells BillBase to only include entries dated after the last billing date. Otherwise, the current bill would include entries that may have already been in a prior bill. So in other words, the last billing date is the cutoff date for entries that will be included in this bill. And the only billing entries that will be included in the bill are those that are dated after the last billing date. I have 2006 in there, and I'm going to leave it. And you may wonder why I'm leaving it as 2006. And well, it's because the BookBase and the itemized statement entries that were created years ago are using those dates in and around that time. So if I chose a current date, it's very likely that no entries would be included in the sample bill that I'm going to create. So I wanted to pick a date that was in the, if not in front, prior to, in the middle of the existing BookBase item dates that I had put in there. Now, next is balance forward. This is the third and last of the essential fields. It's essential because this is the number that BillBase uses as a starting point for calculating the current balance due. If there's no prior bill, the balance forward is 0. Charge interest. This is an optional field. Lets you add interest to a client's balance due. Interest rate. This is another optional field. It's the rate charged on unpaid balances. Description and amount. Now, I mentioned that BillBase can handle flat fee or hourly bills, and the description and amount fields here are for flat fee bills. I can show, let's see, we have, okay, it says example of a flat fee bill, but typically I might charge something like, this is probably not right, representation in OMVI case, $2,500, and that shows up on the bill just like that. That's how it will appear. Now, this is an interesting one. This is for your hourly rates. This is the attached itemized statement path, and the way you do it is you double-click in the path box here, and I'll bring one up. And what will happen is when it opens up an open file dialog that shows you all the bills, the itemized statements that you might have in here. We've only got a handful in there, and I'll pick the sample, and when I click on the open button, you'll see that the path to the sample file is in there, and that tells me that I've attached that particular itemized statement to this bill that I'm going to prepare. Hopefully there's items in there, and we'll get a decent bill out. I should have took a look at that before we started on the video here. What do we have? Oh, the note field. This is a simple text field that can be used to notify clients of upcoming deadlines or a reminder that payment is due. You can use it for whatever you want, and of course, if you didn't want to use it at all, you can just leave it blank. Are we ready to print a bill? Not quite. Let's cover one more thing first, itemized statements. Here's what you do to include an itemized statement. I'm going to go up here. Well, to include it, we already did that, but to view an itemized statement, I'll close the billing entry form. I didn't really make any changes, but I'll save them anyway. And I think this is the button. And again, we see the standard Windows Open File dialog button, only this one works like an old-style word processor of the late 1990s, and that is that if you select a name or enter a name and type it in as it exists, like sample, what you'll do is when you click on the open button, it'll open that file. However, if you type a name that doesn't exist, it asks you if you want to create a new file with that name, and it creates one if you do want to do that. Let's open the sample file just to see what's there. There it is. It is a list of items with essentially 4 columns. The date of service, description of service, the time spent, in fractions of an hour, decimal fractions, and the hourly rate. And the hourly rate could be set to anything that you want. You can do that on the options menu. And it works almost exactly like the worksheets that you see in apps like our Decedent Probate or the Guardianship. It uses the add and the delete keys for your use in managing your entries, and I believe they're automatically sorted into date order. And I mentioned that you can set the hourly rate. So that's about it, really. There's not much more to it. I'll close that, and that drops us back. And now, can we print a bill? Well, yes, we can. The bill we're going to print is the Stephen and Clara Adkins bill, and I'll press the print button. Where is it? Right here. And let's see what happens. Wow, okay, that was pretty quick. Note that I'm printing a single bill right now, but I actually could have printed as many bills as are in that file. There were 3 bills in there. I could have printed all 3. I just wanted to print one because I know that one's set up okay. The other ones I'm not too sure about because we just put them in there for purposes of demonstration video. And so there you go. You see a bill. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to click on this button here to take the marks out, so you can see that a little less visual distraction there. And I don't have too much time to go into this, but you see there's the billing header, where your name and address would show up here typically, the client's name and address, and then those items that we mentioned, the balance forward, the date of the bill up here, the items that we had placed in there directly. No, that's not the items. These are the items from the, okay, this is pulling items from BookBase, this December 18th and this March 5th. Both of those are out of BookBase, and it looks like they were amounts that the client paid on their account. And then here's another BookBase entry, this December 13th. That's a county recorder's office. That's an expense that would be charged on the client. Here's the stuff I put in, the flat fee. You can see that's in there as the $2,500 and courtesy discount. And see the attached itemized statement. Let's take a look at that. Here's the note. We've arranged a deposition. Here's the itemized statement. Very nice. And I kind of went over it a little, maybe perhaps too quickly, but you could see here, this is the total from the itemized statement. So, like I said, this bill doesn't really make any sense, but it's just here to show you the different parts and pieces. The 3 law office management videos are a great overview of the law office management pack, but I'm thinking, like I said earlier, that one more to explain some of the more technical aspects may be in order, because making a bill involves coordinating all 3 of the applications. For example, to make a client's bill in BillBase, you've got to have a corresponding name and address in ClientBase, and also if you have income and expense entries that belong to the bill, they've got to be entered in BookBase, and all this is, not just entered in BookBase, but they have to be entered in BookBase and along with the client number to which they apply. So we may plan one more video to cover how the apps work together, and also to cover some common user questions. Well, that's it. Before I go, I'll mention once again that we have a book that has collected all the best tips from our Law Office Computing magazine and our monthly email newsletter. And you'll be interested in a book, if you're interested rather in the book. It's called Best of Law Office Computing. It's not specific to Pure Springs products. It covers all subjects related to using computers in law offices. It could save you money because there's information about free software and other utility apps that are especially useful in law offices. You can get the ebook at Amazon for only $9 and the paperback for only $12. I can only hope you had a fraction of the fun watching this video as I had making it. The goal of the videos are to make life in the law office a tad bit easier. It's that simple. Well, I hope you visit us again, and until you do, I wish you all the best. Take care.